who decides to go on this like crazy kind of mystery story to find her missing, fucked up, hija de mami, papi, kind of rich girl, and it takes her all across Santo Domingo, and it's a really stupid novel. So, that's it. Yeah, okay. Yeah. If the line, why does the line keep going? That's it, let's do this.
First of all, I want to say also thank you for writing the book, because like the young lady said over there, I'm a young Dominican girl, and this is the first book that I've read. You're the first Dominican author that I feel like speaks to the generation that when I read the book, I was like, finally, somebody, kind of understands and knows, what we go through. But I was watching New York One the other day, which is how I knew you were going to be here. And congratulations on being in New York for the week. But they said, they had this part right before yours, right before they announced you here. And they were saying that for the past 5 years, the Latino children, they've eradicated Latino as an option in the education, for children to, place themselves in school. And so I want to know, what kind of implications do you think, or what kind of message they're trying to send to the Latino community and to the community at large?
Thank you. It's a really great question. And you know what's going on. The United States, the way that the U.S. has organized its identity is along such simple, simplistic streaks, like lines. And what's sort of fascinating is that the United States' inability to imagine the Latino community in its complexity, it's all about its blind spot. The United States, its identity is maintained through some very simplistic myths, but we ourselves, our very presence explodes those myths. This myth, we're a multiracial, we have like Asian, indigenous, we have everything in us. Multilingual, it's not just Spanish. We're simultaneously immigrants and non-immigrants. Yeah? We're simultaneously people who live only in this country and people who could be called transnational subjects. This idea, you know that joke that you hear all the time, what happened in Vegas stays in Vegas? You know that that's the operational law of immigrants, right? What happens in Santo Domingo, what happens in Salvador stays in Salvador, which is to say that all the colossal international crimes of the United States need to stay out there and should not come home with our scarred bodies. That we should not bring home this information. And we explode the myth that the United States ends at the United States, that the United States doesn't include all our foreign policy abroad. And there's so much about our identities which complicates and breaks apart this simple math. The very idea that America is this sort of only a domestic power, to be American is about the 50 states. Most of us exist, the United States identity is in 2 dimensions, and the Latino community, like the rest of the country, but us more explicitly, exists in 5 dimensions. And I think that we have been a problem to this country forever for many different historical reasons, but I think most significantly is because we are fundamentally a challenge of this bipolar narrative of black or white, immigrant and citizen, all these different things. Our problem, quote unquote, is that we're the exemplary simultaneous subjects. We're the exact opposite of the things. We're like both immigrant and non-immigrant, both like of African descent plus something else. It's like crazy. And I think we're just, the day that the United States embraces the Latino community is the day that the United States no longer keeps toxic myths as its central identity. And I think that we're the final test, and we're the reason that they're having so much problems. And of course they want to eliminate anything that indicates, especially as times get tough and people rely more and more on simplicity to survive, they want to eliminate any flags that would point us to a much more complicated, nuanced version of ourselves. And I'm not surprised they're trying to eliminate us because they've already scared of what we represent on just so many levels. Thank you. Let's do, I hope you're going to do, what color you like? Go on.
I was going to say that in response to the question about your alternate profession, I think you would make a really great stand-up comedian. I was just thinking about.
You're very kind.
I had a question about, I think it's really hard to find radical, renowned radical writers, or anyone really. I think a lot of times people who are political, who dare to talk about class, race, different oppressed identities, I think, get marginalized in the media. And so I was wondering kind of what your experiences have been as a radical author, and also as an activist in academia.
Yeah.
Do you feel like, sorry, one last thing, do you feel like you have to compromise your politics a little bit?
Well, it's a good question. I just think that in the end, look, and there's nobody here cute enough for this country not to chew up. We just ain't shit when it comes to this country. The day that it decides it's time to punish you and to discipline you because you've stepped out of the lines of convention, it will find a way to do so. You ain't nobody here that talented or that cute. They know how to do that. And it's not that look, I'm just a writer. I'm not anybody important to make anybody money. So I get ignored. In some ways, it would be so much different if I was an actor or a musician who was selling 8 million records. Then the hammer would come down with such regularity. You would be hounded out of your life. Any of my friends who are serious and well-renowned actors, the sort of stuff that comes at them when they talk at a public forum about some of the things that I feel really comfortable talking about. This is a country that disciplines anyone who is radical politics, and certainly disciplines out of order people of color. And I think that to think that it's not going to happen, the idea is just, what can you live with? Is a question I ask myself. I don't know what I can live with because I've only been tested so far. You keep being tested and you keep finding out whether you have courage or whether you need to retrench for a little while. And the person you think that you put down today is the person who comes back tomorrow and knocks your head off. And that's why I think we should always be careful. As artists, we have 3 or 4 lives, and sometimes you gotta just chill. Right now, again, I don't make anyone money, so I can just do whatever the fuck I want. But I wonder how funny, haha, this would be if stuff I was saying or doing was getting my kids removed from their schools. Or if the day I get engaged and married, if my wife's in a position where people can put kind of pressure on me. And you don't have to be anyone for that to happen. This is a society, man. Societies know how to keep us manso. Tamed. I don't know. We'll see what happens. Yeah, good luck. Thank you. That's sweet.
Good evening, Mr. Junot Diaz. Question, almost forgot it, take us along the line. Pretty much, I never heard of Cosmo till today. I thought it was like a cosmetic line. So I'm just making that out flat, but and that's me being a young, big educated person in the community or whatever. But that's from what I see, everyone here is educated enough that they know English. What about the people who don't speak the language? And we're talking about interpreters and everything like that. And in other communities, such as Harlem, people drop $2 million just so children can go to charter schools, just so they can knock at these people's doors. Over here in political season, that's the only time you see the little trucks with people's banners and all that, and they come out here, they don't even know who's their name. After that, we don't know who's anyone. Bottom line is that, how do we go about reaching out, not to just the young people, but to our peers, our older peers who take care, probably take care of you guys, take care of us, whatever. The ones who are telling us that we need to go to school, we need to do this, And how do we reach out to them so they know about these events that are going on so they can partake? Because you're speaking English and everything, and I have yet to hear one person saying, "You go to police, Sister Deacon." You know, everyone here knows what you're talking about. And you know, we're talking all this, but at the end of the day, when we leave and I go home, well, not me personally, but we all go home or whatever, and my mother and father saying, "Oh, Cosmo, what's that?" How do we get the message out to them? And how do we go about, you know, spreading that type of activism with no money, with limited resources, and just being around